Bryan, based on your research around B2B and B2C convergence, what separates the leaders from the followers?
That's a great question, and one that we're actually quite concerned with, as we try to provide some sense of direction. But as we begin to talk about what the impacts are going to be of B2B and B2C convergence and where they're going to hit, there's a nagging feeling that sort of within the back of our minds that, you know, what's the real readiness that companies might actually have, and are they prepared? And, you know, when we first considered the impact, that sort of popped into our head that we talk as if this is all easily done, okay? So now let's take a look at maybe what the actual capabilities are. We found that the majority of B2B companies are just really not adequately equipped, okay? When we look at leaders and followers, leaders are maybe 30%, followers are 70% as we categorize our research. But there's a gap between the capabilities of best-in-class or leader companies and all others. The first one is being able to collaborate with the customer on a strategic level. Customer collaboration equals upstream visibility, if you want to think of it in terms of the advantage to B2B and B2C convergence. And 93% of best-in-class companies have this versus only 63% of the followers. So that's borderline 50% more likely. So that's a huge advantage that companies are giving away. Then the ability to understand trade-offs between service level and inventory investment. Inventory optimization is a key enabler here. This is where, again, you know, leaders, best-in-class companies are at 86%. But I would tell you that the followers, or all other companies, they're in the below 50. So think about this: 70%, 80% of the companies out there don't have or don't know the trade-off of service level and inventory deployment. Now think about, you know, managing the B2C side of it, okay? I could arbitrarily just move inventory to fulfill a point, okay? But I have no idea what that's really doing to me because I don't know the impact on service level, because I don't measure it and I can't see that impact. So now they're going to be reacting, okay? And that's kind of the point. If I don't really have those tools in place to know it when I make the decision, now I'm really risking exposing myself even to my B2B business. So that's kind of the point here, is there's implications here underlying the rest of your business when you make those decisions just to satisfy a customer in an order. You know, and then people do that. I mean, that's human nature. I'm trying to get the stuff out the door, make that shipment, make that delivery, get that order, satisfy the customer. But in doing so, I need to be under complete control when I do it. And again, these kinds of things would tell you that you know, companies are just not equipped, the bulk of them anyway. Then there's the closed loop integration of supply chain planning and execution. It may be the most important capability of all when you're talking about B2B and B2C convergence, is tying those two things together, because you've got to eliminate that latency. I can't hand it off, throw it over the fence, and pick it tomorrow. I mean, this has to be now. So again, the order management, the planning, and knowing where all those things tie together. Then the ability to segment the demand forecast based on product and customer characteristics. I really need to know when the channel is shifting. If I have the business, but now it's going to the end consumer, I may still be satisfying them because maybe I'm a brand guy, but they're getting it in another form. I need to know almost the timing of when that volume changes. So if it reduces over here, where does it go? Do I still get that business, or have I lost that business? Good chance I'm still hanging on to the business if I'm a brand guy, but I just don't know where it's going, okay? So I need to watch for those things are shifting. That may help me in my inventory decision. So when I say forecasting, it isn't like I have to have an end unit forecast. I need to know when the volume is shifting, okay? That's part of the issue here. And to what channel is it shifting to? So that I've got some idea of, okay, how do I handle deployment of inventory for the fulfillment of it? So it helps know where the customer is headed before the changes occur. And the best in class are at least 50%, you know, more likely to have that in place. And so, you know, the all other group, or the followers, they're at a big disadvantage here. They just don't have it in place. So a lot of work to be done. And these are past evils. These are things that need to be fixed anyway. Okay, so it's not just about B2B and B2C convergence. It's literally, I need to solve those issues for my business, but it's going to be very critical when I start dealing with the end consumer that I pick up on these changes. Or I'm just going to be lost. I may think I've lost the business when in fact it just shifted channel. So that's a key point to be aware of. So all in all, there's a definite need to create awareness among B2B companies that changes are coming and that most are not really ready to deal with these changes. And even those companies that have a good start, must have ongoing improvement plans, to make sure. But there's one last thing that I probably need to bring in, and that is the cost to serve. Really knowing, do I have those cost numbers in place? We talked about the profitability, but think about the ability to, where do I ship from? Is it feasible? What's the premium freight if I have to pay it? And it's not that, again, companies don't have numbers plugged in, but are they the real numbers? What we found in the research is less than a third of even best-in-class companies have true cost to serve information there. When you're talking about the all others, it's at the 10% level. So think about this, probably 90% of the companies out there, probably not 90, but 85% of the companies out there don't have the information to tell whether or not they're making money on these one each shipments. That's staggering. And that's scary,
Right,
okay?
it is.
Because now I'm running a business and I don't know if I'm winning or losing, okay? That's not to say they're not recovering quickly, and it could be that they've got some idea, but they don't really know. And that's the thing we see. So when you talk about operational readiness, fundamentally as a business, knowing whether or not you're making money on a segment that's pretty critical. So we see that there's some real gaps out there, and they've got to be addressed.
So Brian, you're really starting to get into something that is an important next topic, is what are some of those other capabilities beyond cost to serve that companies need to have in place to address this?
Sure. And I did touch on cost to serve already, but that's certainly one, so I would know whether I'm making money. But, think about the end-to-end inventory visibility, okay? This is just, do I have it? And again, this is where we see, the leaders are much further ahead than the followers, and order of magnitude is 2 to 1, again, when you're talking about that capability. It's also the ability to detect disruptions when I'm looking upstream, to my suppliers. Do I have that visibility where I really know when things are changing in the supply base, and so I can respond, react, change, do something different, okay? Without a complete end-to-end view, inventories and inventory costs are going to rise. Because again, back to what we said before, when I don't have the visibility, what do people do? They hedge.
Right.
Okay, and that's we already know that's roughly a 20% buffer at every point where they don't know. So not having that visibility is going to be key. And again, you'll see the challenge. The first thing is cover it with inventory, and I'll figure out whether what I have to do after the fact. This is an area where leaders have a clear advantage, and few companies really have that capability, but it's a huge opportunity. I mentioned the true cost modeling, but even I'd say in addition to the cost to serve, being able to segment cost by channel and by customer, okay? This is where leaders are, again, much more likely than followers. Order of magnitude 73% to something like 35%. So just having that segmentation capability to see, okay, where the business is going is let alone knowing whether I'm making money on it, okay,
Right.
but they can at least segment it the right way is a big deal. So again, visibility to just the segmentation side is an important aspect to talk about. So back to the cost modeling for a second. I didn't maybe get into where that cost is coming from. But think of terms of when I make a decision. One is knowing, let's say I have a one bucket for the cost. But let's say I've got multiple facilities that I'm manufacturing product or distributing product from. Those costs are going to vary. Right. So that may be somewhat of a dynamic cost, okay? Think of that order that I have to split across multiple sites. Well, maybe I would have preferred, point A, but not going to happen, but I can get it at point B. Okay, my cost from that point to ship, or maybe even the production cost at that point, because could be my labor, could be my taxes, could be, whatever rate it is that may be different. So my actual manufacturing or processing capability cost could be different, in addition to the cost of shipment.
Right.
So there's more than one bucket here that we're talking about. That's what I'm trying to get across. And so that's another dynamic is realizing where all your costs come from. So now what do I have to tie to? look at all the back-end systems I now have
Right.
to integrate with, okay? Am I picking up those numbers? Am I getting them out of the ERP system? Am I pushing them from the ERP system? Is it coming out of my distribution system? Is it coming from my logistics providers? Where are those numbers coming from, and how often do I need to get them to stay current so that I've got a pretty good profile? And or do I go out and partner with somebody to sort of maintain all this for me? I don't know that answer.
Right.
But my point is that you really need to think through that so that when I actually assume something, whether I'm making money on that order, and I quote somebody, I know for sure that I'm not making money. It's not that you won't take the order. You may make a decision that you do that, right? But it would certainly help to know over time that I'm winning or losing. as I said
Exactly.
before.
Exactly.
So I'd say there's also another key point, which is the integration and collaboration with suppliers and partners to improve, the speed, agility, and visibility, and make decisions on the fly. And the reason that's important is that, let's say I've got shipments that are outgoing, I may need to actually grab a shipment, stop it, do something in transit, and redirect it, depending on, the demand of the consumer, okay? It doesn't happen nearly as much in B2B, but it certainly could in B2C. And the capability to do that, even with the best-in-class or leaders, if you will, is somewhere in the 25 to 30% range, okay? That they may have that capability in place. When you deal with all the other guys, the 70, 80%, it's like in the 15, 10% range. So just, again, the capability to make that decision and see, track and trace, in-process shipments, knowing that information it's just not there. So now you say, well, that's another piece, fill out the blank of I've got to add that capability, right?
Right.
So this is where we see the gaps and where companies are just not prepared, at the capability level. So underlying all this fundamentally is, with this visibility, I'm trying to take, the latency out of the process and improve the speed, because I'm going to need the speed for the fundamental service level side of it, okay? But think about the processes they're going to have to, the pressure on those processes to eliminate that latency, create that speed, and get this information very, very quickly. So as we talk about all these, the underlying, need for speed and timeliness may obsolete some of the in-house processes or systems that I've got in place today. So it's not that I may not even have some of the tools just aren't going to be capable to operate at the level that I need them to operate on. So integration won't solve that problem. So it could be an application side, but I would also say maybe the application's there and it is the integration and collaboration side. Don't know that answer, but people need to be looking carefully when they say, okay, here's all the gaps I have. Then you have to say, gee, can I even begin to talk about this, right? I may have to just go add pieces or replace pieces before I talk about the integration end of it. So.
Right, exactly. And a lot of it's sitting down and designing the process from end to end, looking at the pieces, looking at the pieces that you have. Do you have an integrated system? What can be integrated? And can you get everything in concert so that everything is working together instead of just a bunch of point solutions that are really slowing down the process or introducing latency into the process because of the lack of automation. So the leaders, I believe, are in pretty good shape in that area, but there's always room for improvement.
Yep.
And actually, could you speak briefly about the role of the Omni-Channel order management solution?
Sure.
And how this fits into integration as well as the orchestration?
Yeah, I'd say the Omni-Channel order management solution is becoming more and more critical to have. As I talked about the fact that the channels are shifting and that volume is moving away from B2B to other channels. If I don't have an omni-channel order management system, I can't really see where that demand is going. So as the channel fulfillment model demands increase and B2B business models continue to converge with B2C, direct customer shipments, I've got to have that in place. And most organizations, including best in class, aren't really prepared, I'd say, with the right order management capabilities and systems to handle all the changes, that they're already encountering as they strive to support all these different channels. And even if they have some of that, being able to segment it the right way, at the demand level, at the fulfillment, at the inventory level, across all those other pieces and visibility level, I think that's where, tying those components together is going to be pretty essential.
Absolutely, and in fact, order orchestration, order management is often a misunderstood area in terms of its capabilities. Sometimes people think they have it in place with their ERP system.
Sure.
Sometimes they think they have that capability, but can't really deliver on omni-channel needs. So that's definitely something. All of this discussion really underscores the importance of having the right e-commerce, order management, and B2B integration systems in place. For example, e-commerce and order management solutions that can support multiple channels, touch points, brands, geographies, and even selling models. So B2B, B2C, or B2B2C, all on the same platform. You certainly don't want to manage all this on different platforms because then you're basically lacking integration once again. An order management system that can really intelligently broker orders across a wide variety of systems and provide an end-to-end view of inventory across the supply chain, which you said is so critical. The order management system should provide visibility into inventory at all levels and locations, identifying the best location to fill each line item of an order and optimize the use of that inventory, not just the whole order itself. You mentioned earlier the dresses, the shoes, and that kind of thing. How many times is that order split up and delivered from different locations?
Sure.
The order management system is really critical for that. And it should also provide real-time order visibility across the channels, as well as a central order repository, so that it's able to provide real-time updates to the customer as well as to the company to give them that greater visibility. And part of that is integration with a variety of back-end systems to present that real-time visibility, delivery times, status updates, and availability estimates for back-ordered items as well. So a lot of pressure on this order management system. It's not just taking orders by any means.
That's right.
And certainly the order, the inventory and service level trade-offs that you mentioned. What's the best location to fulfill it from? The best source of inventory, and just to really profitably serve that customer, not just fulfill it because that's the fastest way to do it.
Right.
And the routing options, DC, warehouse, fill from a partner, ship to store, pick up in store, direct to customer, so many options to consider. Something that's able to figure out what the best way to get it to that customer is, or to the end consumer. So another factor is just when you're talking about the customer experience, whether you're a B2C customer or a B2B, what's going to make that buying process simple for them? We expect the buying process to be better, even for complex products and services that B2B companies often have to fulfill. This requires configure price quote capabilities and integrated e-commerce capabilities that really allows that buyer to really select quickly what they want and get them what they want faster, get them the right information, and also to help the B2B sales teams deliver better service to them and provide a much more guided experience to those sales reps so that everything is consistent across channels and the focus is on making sure that customer gets the information they want very quickly, enabling them to purchase very quickly. And then on the e-commerce and order management solutions with effective integration to back-end systems, we keep talking about that a lot. It's really critical to make sure from a timely and personalized customer experience, product recommendations, real-time inventory, order status, alerts, that's all really critical. And definitely don't want to overlook the fact that all of this has to be managed, whether you partner with a provider like IBM, like Lightwell, that companies still need to manage all this information internally, inventory, product information, fulfillment locations. They can't rely on their IT staff every single time to make a change every time something is needed. So the ability to have a solution in place that empowers business users to make configuration changes when needed without needing to rely on IT to make that change.
Absolutely.
Or just being able to take over and make changes that improve the customer experience without needing to do a lot of coding on the background. And so really having a combination, this is definitely on the e-commerce and the order management side that I've been discussing here, but then on the back end, as you and I spend a lot of time discussing around B2B integration, the ability to enable the supply chain to act seamlessly internally to the company and integrating with partners, being able to support a wide range of protocols to communicate with partners, a wide variety of document types, making sure that that communication is seamless and you're eliminating that latency out of the process. That really enables the faster order fulfillment, the real-time communication updates, all the way across the supply chain. So it's again, this requires B2B integration capabilities. We don't often talk about B2B integration when it comes to e-commerce and customer experience and that type of thing, but it's really important to informing the company what's going on and if they're able to fulfill for that customer, and even fulfilling information for the consumer, making sure they have the real-time updates that they need. So we're often asked what solutions really fit these requirements and fulfill these needs. And for companies that are seeking solutions like this that meet these requirements, we often recommend solutions from our partner IBM. It's not a fit for everyone, and so it's difficult to say in this scenario that it's the solution that everybody needs. But here are solutions that have been recognized as leaders across multiple industry reports. Their commerce solutions offer an integrated customer-focused approach that we've been talking about for both B2B and B2C companies. They're delivering more than a 15 times ROI for every dollar spent, according to some of the surveys that are out there. This, in terms of the product names you'll hear, there's solutions like the IBM Sterling Order Management, the IBM WebSphere Commerce, and IBM B2b Integration solution. There's a lot more information that can be found out on our website about these particular solutions as well. We won't spend a bunch of time here, but Brian, as we wrap up on the topic of B2B and B2C convergence, any other thoughts, any other closing thoughts that companies should be keeping in mind?
Sure. There are some real issues that need to be addressed in order to effectively deal with B2B and B2C convergence challenges. The majority of companies, even the leaders, lack the operational readiness needed to address the issues of managing convergence. Also, the impact of speed and volume requirements can't be ignored, and knowing their costs may determine a company's survival, when it comes to profitability. For most companies, it's not a real option to start with a clean sheet of paper, and I think that's the point. It sounds nice to say we can put all these things in, here's what it ought to look like, but most people don't have that luxury, and they're not going to rip and replace everything. So assessing their weaknesses and creating a roadmap toward an integrated footprint is probably the way to think about it. And because the complete rip and replace option is not really in the cards for most companies, understanding the business needs at each point is really the key here. And it's vital to the integration and collaboration efforts. So really getting the business process down, knowing what needs to be integrated and collaborated upon, and where am I weak on my applications, and can I backstop that, or do I have it in-house? That's, getting that roadmap nailed down is really the first place. But further connectivity will be necessary for sure, and for most, it's not a single point solution. You mentioned earlier the 10 different formats. When I'm talking with integrating with factories, logistics suppliers, distributors, consumers, e-commerce sites, and my own B2B customers, I'm going to end up with some formats I've never seen, more than likely. I don't know what they are necessarily, but there's going to be more to deal with, and I don't think there's much doubt about that. So again, this is now a question of, do I look for a partner such as yourselves to help me with that? And I think, most companies are going to say, look, this is more than I can take on. I need some help with this, okay? Particularly navigating the integration. What things should be tied and how do we do that, right? They may be in areas they've just never touched before. So I think, partnering is a big question and something that most companies need to address. There may be large companies that have that capability across the board, but I'd say most are not completely equipped, and I would think that's a big decision. It's time to take action, and I think that's where we really look at it. You can't say one size fits all in terms of what to start on first, but getting that roadmap and recognizing that you may need help along the way, and then really walking through the process and knowing what that roadmap is and where the pain points are and where do I need to shore it up, and identifying those points of pain. That's where you've got to get to first. And what we have seen is, if you just looked at the capabilities, as they exist today, most companies are not equipped, and that includes the leaders. They've got some gaps that they need to fill. And certainly the all others, the followers are woefully behind, and that's where we see. So from an operational readiness standpoint, there's a lot of work to be done.
Thank you, Bryan, for sharing all this great research and your valuable insights. We greatly appreciate it. And for those of you interested in learning more about improving customer and supplier integration and collaboration, we encourage you to view the other videos in our series. In addition, to learn more about the technology solutions we've discussed today, please contact us with questions or visit our website at www.lightwellinc.com. We have a tremendous amount of resources available to you there. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and we hope you've enjoyed this video series. Have a wonderful day.